$612. That's not your savings. That's your whole life in one number at 11:51 on a Tuesday. At each level, money stops being what you think it is and quietly becomes something else. Frank's truth number 6. Leverage isn't about having more money. It's about being harder to scare. Run it yourself. The person who panic sold locked in the loss. You who held kept every share. Same crash, same account size, same tired Monday morning. The only difference between them was who flinched. That's the whole gap. The psychology of leverage is patience that looks like doing nothing while everyone around you panics loudly. You weren't lucky. You just understood that the scary day and the rich day are the same day. And once you can hold through fear, money starts compounding into something it's never been before. Position. Level 4, the top of the ladder. The level the title calls Untouchable. Here, money changes one last time. It stops being leverage you aim, it becomes position. A place you stand that the storm can't reach. Untouchable doesn't mean a private jet. That's a costume. Real position is much quieter than that. It means your money makes more than you spend, without you working. Your time is finally your own. First it's air, the thing you die without. Then information. Then leverage. And at the very top, it becomes position. The honest number is smaller than you think. Many reach it on far less than $1 million. Because position isn't a pile, it's a ratio. What you own against what your life actually costs. A woman named Nia got there at 53. Not rich by the magazine's math, but completely free. Her investments threw off more each month than her quiet life required. The gap belonged to her. Nobody could fire her into ruin. No boss owned her Monday. No emergency could knock her back down. That's untouchable. Not a number with 7 zeros. A life that no longer bends to other people's decisions. Frank's truth number 7. Untouchable isn't being able to buy anything. It's never having to be afraid. And here's the part the magazines hide. Nia got there on the same boring moves from level 2. Buffer. Automate. Hold through fear. Let it quietly compound. No secret, no tip, no shortcut. Just decades of not flinching. Run it yourself. All the way up. Air. Information. Leverage. Position. The same dollar. Climbing the whole time. Most people spend 40 years stuck on that very first one. Gasping for air. Never once knowing the other 3 exist. But there's one force standing on every level, pushing you back down. And we need to be frank about it. The force is the machine. Not a villain in a suit. A system built to keep you on level 1. Every product aimed at you is priced for the broke brain. The one that can only see Friday. The payment plan, the title loan, the store card. They sell you air at the price of leverage. The machine doesn't hate you. It just profits most when you stay exactly where you started. Let's be frank. The bank makes its best money on the customer who never climbs past level 1. But here's the thing the machine never advertises. It's a system. And a system can be out-positioned. It only wins if you keep playing by level 1 rules. Survive now, decide later, never run the math. The day you build a buffer, you step off its board. The day you automate, you stop feeding it. Frank's truth number 8. You don't beat the machine by getting angry. You beat it by getting boring. Frank's truth number 1. You don't climb out of broke with money. You climb out with a different idea of money. And I'll be honest with you, because that's the whole point of this channel being frank. I climbed every one of these levels, and I lost a painful chunk of it on the way back down. I learned the math the slow way, by being wrong with real money. The kind you can't get back. So none of this is theory to me. It's just the version nobody was frank enough to give me. The cruelest trick the machine plays is making you believe the level you're on is the level you are. That broke is who you are instead of where you're standing. It isn't. It's a floor, not a ceiling. You weren't reckless. You weren't lazy. You were just never handed the map of these 4 levels. Now you have it. Air, information, leverage, position. 4 levels, and the same dollar climbing all of them. So go back to that screen, the one that said 612 at 11:51 on a Tuesday. That number hasn't changed yet, but what it means to you just did. And that's where every climb starts. So let's run it yourself, level by level, and see exactly where you're standing right now. Because 612 on level 1 is panic. The very same 612 with a plan is the first rung. Frank's truth number 9. The climb doesn't begin when the number grows. It begins when your eyes do. You don't need more money today to take the first step. You need the buffer. And the boring repetition. $1,000 to buy back your mind. Then a working dollar. Every month. On quiet autopilot. The honest number is that level 4 is just level 2. Repeated for longer than most people will wait. Run it yourself tonight. Open the app you've been refreshing. This time, don't look at what's there. Look at where it could stand in 10 years. If you stopped feeding the machine and started feeding yourself. That gap between the two numbers, the panic one and the patient one, that's the whole ladder. And it was always there. You just couldn't see it from inside the air you were busy breathing. The math doesn't care that you started late or started small. The next move is still yours. Level 1, negative net worth. The place where money isn't wealth at all. It's oxygen. If nobody ever gave you the Frank version of money, that's what this is for. See you on the next level. You owe far more than you own. Every single dollar that lands in the account is already promised to someone else. Here's where it turns. At this level, your whole brain is quietly rented out, full time, to a single question. Will the card go through? That question runs in the background of every single thing you do. You can't think about next year. You can barely think about next Friday. Air doesn't plan ahead. You refresh the app one more time. The way you check a wound to see if it still hurts. A man named Marcus lived here for 11 long years. And the whole time, he called it being responsible. He paid every bill the day it arrived. Proud he never missed one. Never once asking why. The honest number is this. Marcus paid $410 a month in interest alone. Not principal, interest. Pure rent on money he'd already spent. Paid forever to faceless people he would never once meet. That's $4,900 a year. Vanishing. The exact cost of staying exactly where he was. You weren't reckless with any of it. You were just never once shown that staying broke has a monthly subscription fee. The psychology of level 1 is the cruelest part, and almost nobody names it out loud. When money is air, you can't make one single decision that isn't really about survival in the next few hours. The cheap shoes that fall apart in 4 months. The title loan. The plan you never start. Every choice is rational when you're drowning. Reaching for air always beats reaching for the shore. The number doesn't move, no matter how many times you ask it to. You're 24, and Friday's check is already spent. And the machine knows it. The whole system is priced for people who can only see Friday. Frank's truth number 2. Poverty isn't a lack of money. It's a lack of room to think. So how do you get air back into the room? Not by earning more. Not yet. You get it back by building one number. The smallest, most boring number in personal finance. A buffer. $1,000. Sitting still. Doing nothing. Touching nothing. Just existing in an account. It earns you almost no interest at all. That's not the point. It earns you back your own mind. Because the day the tire blows, you don't reach for the card. You reach for the buffer. And for the first time in years, the whole question changes. It stops being the panicked, will the card go through? It becomes, which option is smartest? That shift, from panic to choice, is the entire game. The honest number is that a $1,000 buffer is worth more than a $10,000 raise you'd spend. Rent, the minimum on the card. The tire that blew last week on the highway and simply could not wait. Because the raise feeds the air. The buffer ends it. One keeps you breathing. The other lets you stand. Level 2. You've clawed your way to 0. You owe nothing, and you own almost nothing. This is where most people stop climbing. Because 0 feels like the finish line. It isn't. 0 is just the bottom of the real staircase. And here, money quietly becomes a second thing. It stops being air. It becomes information. A signal telling you things you couldn't hear before. At level 1, you never saw a price. You only ever saw a payment you could survive. 300 down. Then 99 a month. Easy. That is the only language the broke brain has ever been taught to read. But the day you have a buffer, your eyes change. You start seeing the number behind the number. A woman named Dana noticed it first at a car lot. The month her savings crossed $2,000. The salesman quoted her $471 a month, smiling the easy way they always smile at a pair of level 1 eyes. You're not reckless, and you know it. You time your errands around which station is 3 cents cheaper on gas. Here's where it turns. For the very first time in her life, Dana didn't hear the payment. She heard the total. Run it yourself. $471 a month. For 6 years is almost $34,000. On a car the window said cost $29. The honest number was $5,000 she'd never see again. But Dana saw further than the total. Because information compounds the same silent way money does. Year after quiet year. She ran what that $471 would become if it grew instead of disappeared into a car. At a 7% average return, that monthly figure becomes roughly $82,000 in 10 years. So the sticker said $30,000. The real price tag, the one nobody writes down, was $80,000. That's not a car payment. That's a down payment on a house. Made at $38,000 instead of $31,000. Frank's truth number 3, at level 2. Every dollar is a vote for which future shows up. Money as information means you finally read the second price on everything. The cost of the cost. You move $40 into savings on payday. Feeling responsible. Just to quietly move it right back by Thursday night. The latte isn't $5. It's $5 times a habit times 30 years of growth. That doesn't mean never buy the latte. It means you finally know what the latte actually costs. And knowing changes you. You stop spending to look like you've arrived, because you can see arrival. The psychology of this level is a strange kind of grief, and almost nobody warns you about it. You start to see how much the air cost you. Years of payments that bought you nothing. You weren't foolish for any of it. You were reading the only price the system ever bothered to show you. But here's the gift hiding inside the grief. The same eyes that see the loss can see the gain. Dana didn't buy the car. She bought a beater for $4,000 and invested the difference instead. Nobody clapped. No one ever claps for the quiet decision. That's the whole reason it works. Because the loud decisions, the ones people notice, are almost always the ones that keep you broke. Let's be frank. Nobody ever sat you down and showed you the math on this. Frank's truth number 4. The market pays you for being invisible, while everyone else performs being rich. At level 2, your job is simple and brutally boring. Turn every spare dollar into a working dollar. Not a stock pick, not a tip from a guy, a boring index fund. Bought every single month. You automate it so your level 1 brain never gets a vote on whether to skip a month. The honest number is that $200 a month. Started at 25, is over 400,000 by 60. Not because you're smart, or special, or early. Because you simply started, and then you got out of your own way. That's the secret level 2 teaches. Wealth isn't built by the decision, it's built by the repetition. One good choice is a moment. The same choice, made on autopilot for 30 years, is a fortune. And somewhere in those 30 years, without a single dramatic day, money becomes the third thing. It stops being a signal you read, it starts becoming a force you can aim. It becomes leverage. Not school, not your parents, not the bank that mails you offers it hopes you'll take, which is exactly where most people, even the disciplined ones, quietly lose their nerve. Let's go there. Level 3, you've got money working, and a real cushion. 6 months of life sitting in reserve. Here, money stops being information you read. It becomes leverage, a tool that moves things heavier than you. At this level, the dangerous shift isn't financial, it's psychological, and almost nobody sees it coming. For the first time, you have enough to lose. And having something to lose makes most people freeze. A man named Elias hit level 3 at 41. with $90,000 and a steady job. And then he did the most natural thing in the world. He stopped. He guarded it. He waited. He kept every dollar in cash, terrified of a crash, proud he was being safe and smart. Here's where it turns. Inflation ran a little over 3% a year, while Elias stood still. The honest number is, his $90,000 quietly lost almost $3,000 of buying power. Every year. So here it is, the Frank version. Net worth isn't one ladder. It's 4 different things. Safe wasn't safe. Standing still on a moving floor is just falling behind in slow motion. Frank's truth number 5, at level 3. The biggest risk stops being losing money. It's wasting it. Leverage means your money can now do things your paycheck never could. It can buy you time. It can buy a skill that doubles your income. It can carry the risk so you don't have to. The market drops 18% in 6 weeks, and you watch 4 months of saving vanish overnight. Your thumb hovers over sell. This is the moment that decides whether fear runs your money or you do. At level 1, you'd have sold. You couldn't afford not to. At level 3, you have a choice. So you sit in the dark, and you do the only thing that has ever worked. You don't move. 6 weeks later, the number is back. 18 months later, it's higher than it has ever been. The math didn't care at all that you were scared. Leverage only ever rewards the people who can hold on to it.